Alawapad, dear friends. Welcome to the Sunday morning devotional program sponsored by the Spiritual Assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb County and Sandy Springs. It's wonderful to have all of you with us today. Across the globe, the teachings of the Baha'i faith, brought to us more than 150 years ago by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, its founder, whose name in Arabic means the glory of God, have inspired and continue to inspire individuals and communities as they strive to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential themes as the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity, and freedom from all forms of prejudice, the inherent nobility of the human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, a gradual unfolding of God's purpose with the appearance of each divine teacher, the development of spiritual qualities which allow us to reflect the image in which God made us, the integration of worship and service, with work performed in the spirit of service being counted as worship in the eyes of God, the fundamental equality of the sexes, more widely evidenced in a setting of equal opportunity, the harmony between religion and science as an established fact, the centrality of justice in all human endeavor, the importance of education, particularly for children, and the dynamics of the relationships that bind together individuals, communities, and institutions as humanity advances towards its collective maturity. Again, welcome. We're pleased to have all of you join us. We'll begin with opening devotions. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking and silence your electronic devices if you are speaking. Bibi? Bibi? You're so muted.
Sorry. Okay. Say God sufficeth all things above all things, and nothing in the heavens or in the earth but God sufficeth. Verily he is in himself, the knower, the sustainer, the omnipotent, the Bab.
Dungting?
Oh God, my Oh God, my God, oh my Master, I beg thee to forgive me for seeking any pleasure, save thy love, or any comfort except thy nearness, or any delight besides thy good pleasure, or any existence other than communion with thee, the Bab.
Dorothy?
O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Baha'u'llah.
Georgia?
O thou whose face is the object of my adoration, whose beauty is my sanctuary, whose habitation is my goal, whose praise is my hope, whose providence is my companion, whose love is the cause of my being, whose mention is my solace, whose nearness is my desire, whose presence is my dearest wish and highest aspiration. I entreat thee not to withhold from me the things thou dost ordain for the chosen ones among thy servants. Supply me then with the good of this world and of the next. Thou truly art the King of all men. There is no God but thee, the ever forgiving, the most generous.
Oh my, oh my God, oh my God. Thou seest me in my lowliness and weakness, occupied with the greatest undertaking, determined to raise thy word among the masses and to spread thy teachings among thy peoples. How can I succeed unless thou assist me with the breath of thy Holy Spirit? Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, and an atom into lights and suns. O my Lord, assist me with thy triumphant and effective might, so that my tongue may utter thy praises and attributes among all peoples, and my soul overflow with the wine of thy love and knowledge. Thou art the omnipotent and the doer of whatsoever thou willest. Bibi.
O Lord, enable all the peoples of the earth to gain admittance into the paradise of thy feet, so that no created being may remain beyond the bounds of thy good pleasure. From the immemorial, thou hast been potent to do what pleaseth thee, and transcendent above whatsoever thou desirest. From the God.
Dungting.
This is a day in which the testimony of the Lord has been fulfilled, the day in which the word of God has been made manifest, and his evidence firmly established. His voice is calling you unto that which shall profit you, and enjoy you to observe that which shall draw you nigh unto God and the Lord of revelation, Baha'i.
Dorothy.
The whole human race is submerged in the sea of the mercy of the Lord, and we are all the sheep of the one divine shepherd. Whatever shortcoming exists among us must be remedied. For example, those who are ignorant must be educated so that they may become wise. The sick must be treated until they recover. Those who are immature must be trained in order to reach maturity. Those asleep must be awakened. All this must be accomplished through love and not through hatred and hostility. Abdul Baha.
Georgia.
Baha'u'llah has written, verily the words which have descended from the heaven of the will of God are the source of unity and harmony for the world. Close your eyes to racial differences and welcome all with the light of oneness.
Thank you to all today's readers. Next, we're going to listen to a healing prayer. If any of you wish to remember a loved one through this prayer for healing, please feel free to call out their name at this time.
Marilyn Handis.
Helen and Max.
Dana Cameron.
Charles Henry.
Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing, and my succor in both this world and the worlds to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. The all-knowing, the all-knowing, the all-knowing, the all-wise, the all-knowing, the all-wise, all-wise, the all-knowing, the all-wise.
And next, we're blessed to have a musical offering.
Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, an atom into lights and suns. Oh, my Lord, help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy comfort. confirmation. Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, an atom into lights and suns, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, an atom into lights and suns. Oh, my Lord, help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation.
Friends, each week we're blessed to have a guest presenter share with us their insights on a particular topic. This week, we're honored to have with us Ms. Hermione Pickens, who will speak to us about the Day of Justice. Hermione?
Helps to unmute. Thank you, Stephen. Allahu Akbar, dear friends, God is most glorious. Greetings and salutations this morning. I'm truly honored to come before you to share a few thoughts on the theme, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Let me start off first by saying, for those of you for whom this may be your first encounter with the Baha'i Faith, the Baha'i Faith is the latest in a series of God's religions, revealed to mankind throughout the ages, and whose teachings on the one hand reiterate, renew, support, and confirm the fundamental teachings of all the major religions, and on the other hand, bring updates, further enlightenment, and material or accidental change according to the exigencies of our time. Baha'u'llah, the glory of God, the light of God, the splendor of God, is the founder, author, and revealer of the Baha'i Faith. Throughout religious history, we've gone from acknowledging that there is a God, that there's only one God, to accepting that he sends representatives of himself to us at various prescribed times for the betterment of mankind, and will continue to do so forevermore. Baha'is believe Baha'u'llah is the promised one for this day. This presentation was offered at a January 2019 Martin Luther King Jr. Day annual celebration in Royal Oak Township, Michigan. And it's as relevant today as it was then, perhaps even more so, given our seeming sustained efforts to warrant such discourse. As we pay tribute each year to one whose very life was not only committed to dismantling the deeply ingrained racial injustices of our time, but who yielded his last breath in the path of true justice. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in a letter written August of 1963, in longhand, that's cursive to you, and it would equal about 6 single-spaced typewritten pages today. He wrote this letter as he sat whilst a prisoner in a Birmingham jail for having participated in nonviolent demonstrations against segregation. The next line in that quote reads, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Dr. King, in this letter, is addressing 8 white Southern clergy who had issued a public statement of concern and caution, code for "You are fast approaching the limit for uppity Negroes, and you best be mindful and take heed," branding his activities as unwise and untimely, and which we now know could not have been more wise or more timely in the path of justice. The call for justice. Did you know that the call for justice runs throughout the Old Testament? Why is that? Why is it so prevalent? In the Torah, Job 19:7, "Behold, I cry out violence, but I am not heard. I cry aloud, but there is no justice." Ecclesiastes 3:16, "And moreover, I saw under the sun in the place of justice that wickedness was there, and in the place of righteousness that wickedness was there." Proverbs 8:20, "I walk in the way of righteousness, in the midst of the paths of justice." 8:21, "That I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and that I may fill their treasuries." Deuteronomy 16:20. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm going to take a break. Thank you. Pardon me. Deuteronomy, "Justice, justice shalt thou follow, that thou mayest live and inherit the land which thy Lord thy God giveth." That's Torah law. These are but a few, and from King James Bible, New Testament, Genesis 18:19. "For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him." And Ecclesiastes again, 5:8, "If thou seest the oppression of the poor, and violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth and there be higher than they. Isaiah 59:4. None calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for truth. They trust in vanity and speak lies. They conceive mischief and bring forth iniquity. Proverbs again. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. And from the Holy Quran, yes, it's there too. O ye who believe, stand fast to justice. When ye bear witness before God, though it be against yourselves or your parents or your kindred, whether the party be rich or poor. And when ye give judgment, observe justice, even though it be the affair of a kinsman, and fulfill the covenant of God. And Surah 16, verily God enjoineth justice and the doing of good and gifts to kindred, and he forbiddeth wickedness and wrong and oppression. He warneth you, letting you know in advance, that haply ye may be mindful. But we are not mindful. The Quran promises in Surah 42, but there shall be a way open against those who unjustly wrong others and act insolently on the earth in disregard of justice. These a grievous punishment doth await them. Dr. King already knew he need not physically restrain or upbraid anyone, which is why all his efforts were of a peaceful nature, and more still from the Baha'i writing. Justice is in this day bewailing its plight, and equity groaneth beneath the yoke of oppression. The thick clouds of tyranny have darkened the face of the earth and enveloped its peoples, its gleanings. Again, why is this theme so prevalent in all the holy writings? Baha'u'llah writes, O son of spirit, the best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not away therefrom if thou desirest me, and neglect it not that I may confide in thee. By its aid, thou shalt see with thine own eyes, and not through the eyes of others, and shalt know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Ponder, that means weigh, like scales of justice. A preponderance of the evidence, as we've often heard a judge say. Again, ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Verily, justice is my gift to thee, and the sign of my loving kindness. Set it then before thine eyes. Baha'u'llah also says, that which traineth the world is justice, for it is upheld by two pillars, reward and punishment. These two pillars are the sources of life to the world. And further, in Epistle to the Son of the Wolf, he says, no light can compare with the light of justice, the establishment of order in the world, and the tranquility of the nations depend upon it. So it is therefore imperative that we keep justice at the forefront of our lives, our interactions with each other, our very existence. That phrase, justice must prevail, could not possibly be more true or timely. So what is the purpose of justice? Baha'i writings tell us the purpose of justice is the appearance of unity among men. That's Baha'u'llah in Tablets of Baha'u'llah. Recall the second part of Dr. King's quote. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. We are so interconnected. Dr. King knew this, and just how interconnected we are. The Baha'i writings tell us that even in prayer, we are interconnected. Whoso reciteth in the privacy of his chamber the verses revealed by God, the scattering angels of the Almighty shall scatter abroad the fragrance of the words uttered by his mouth, and shall cause the heart of every righteous man to glow. Connected in prayer. Are we then somehow suddenly disconnected when evil is committed? Right again, Dr. King. Interconnectedness is an equal opportunity phenomenon, an equal opportunity affector. I thought I made that word up, affector. But when I looked it up to see if it might be a word, I discovered that an affector is a neuron that directly activates a muscle. A neuron is a specialized cell that transmits nerve impulses. That's what it does. It's a nerve cell. And what muscles are activated by our interconnectedness affector? We are connected in the light of the Spirit. We are connected in the darkness of evil. Injustice anywhere, remember? It is what activates us. It's what motivates us. It's what moves us to act, to care, to pray, to rescue, to raise up, to shield, to hold on to empathize with, to build, to love, individually, in our family, in our community. Our connectedness is a reality we can't shake. The earth is one country and mankind its citizens. We are a single human family that can't be divided up, though we've tried repeatedly to dissect, disavow, and disprove that reality. Kind of like Wile E. Coyote with his Acme brand of injustice and disunity. Undeterred by being blown up or dropped off a cliff and reduced to a puff of powder. The will of Wile E. to commit injustice, and it is an exercise of will, is relentlessly single-minded, non-negotiable, and apparently death-defying. Our oneness, which was designed, created, and manifested by God, the fashioner. Our oneness is fundamental, inalterable, and not subject to change. Period. It is our spiritual DNA. That's our oneness. Our unity, however, is a little less definable, a little less graspable, a little less, oh, there it is, look at it. But no less commanding, no less binding, and something we have to work on in order to manifest the spiritual reality of our oneness. I mean, really work on consciously with unity aforethought, with superhuman effort, though it should come naturally. We've been hardwired, conditioned, and acclimated to other minds, them and they, far more often than us and we. This has resulted in all the injustices, past and present, otherness, racial injustice, economic disparity, gender inequality, educational subjugation, all based on otherness. You may have heard of the turn of events a few years ago regarding Nobel Peace Prize winner and scientist James Watson, who, along with co-scientist Francis Crick, discovered the double helix structure of DNA back in the 1950s. You know, the twisty, winding two-sided nature of a DNA strand. Looks like a ladder that's curving upwards. And they received the Nobel Award in 1962. Amazing, life-altering find, this double helix. He made the mistake, however, according to the Huffington Post, of stating out loud to a media publication around December of 2018 that, and I quote, genes are responsible for inferior intelligence among Blacks. I repeat, genes are responsible for inferior intelligence among Blacks. All that intellect, but could a brilliant mind be more askew? Due to time constraints, I won't go into details, but suffice it to say, almost immediately, Watson's prestige, accolades, and legacy were stripped away entirely by the lab where he conducted his famed research and where he had come to serve as chancellor in addition to several other highly distinguished roles, all gone, just like that. Had his focus on physical DNA been on a par with, say, that of spiritual DNA, our oneness, that is, perhaps a different outcome. Don't know if I can say live and learn at this point. He was 90 years old at that time and remained unyielding in his mindset. Dr. King was known to have said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. I agree wholeheartedly, especially in light of the James Watson fiasco. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The moral universe, the Universal House of Justice, stated in reference to racial injustice in its letter of 22 July 2020. The change required is not merely social and economic, but moral and spiritual. Justice in Watson's case was swift and sure. Now, for those who appear to be in charge, the following mandate of justice from on high. Baha'i, well is it with the king who keepeth a tight hold on the reins of his passion, restraineth his anger, and preferreth justice and fairness to injustice and tyranny. Tablets of Baha'i. Anything come to mind today that might benefit directly from this exhortation? I'm sure it does. Baha'u'llah goes on to say, know ye that the poor are the trust of God in your midst. Watch that ye betray not his trust, that ye deal not unjustly with them, and that ye walk not in the ways of the treacherous. And this part, ye will most certainly be called upon, answer for his trust. On the day when the balance of justice shall be set, the day when unto everyone shall be rendered his due, when the doings of all men, be they rich or poor, shall be weighed. Remember what it said in the Quran about a grievous punishment awaiting those who act unjustly? Well, it's the same in the Baha'i writing. If ye pay no heed unto the counsels which we have revealed in this tablet, in peerless and unequivocal language, I deign to add. Divine chastisement shall assail you from every direction, and the sentence of his justice shall be pronounced against you. On that day, ye shall have no power to resist him, and shall recognize your own impotence. Have mercy on yourselves, he said, and on those beneath you. Judge ye between them according to the precepts prescribed by God in his most holy and exalted tablet. A tablet wherein he hath assigned to each and everything its settled measure, in which he hath given with distinctness an explanation of all things, and which is in itself a monition unto them that believe in him. From Gleanings, Baha'u'llah. If we choose to change this world, there's a place for us, somewhere, a place for us. Peace and quiet and open air. Wait for us somewhere. Actually, we can't wait. We don't have that luxury. Justice is serious business, not some to be hoped for unattainable aspiration. It is reality. Time is of the essence, and we have to make this happen on our end sooner rather than later. The scales of justice are waiting. We don't want them tipping the wrong way. That's what we don't want. One of our less palatable incentives to comply being the possible occurrence of another deluge, as has happened more than once in the ancient past, wiping out everything, and God raising up the rocks to testify to his oneness and the oneness of his creation. Kind of like the aftermath of a forest fire after it's done burning, quite some time after, you finally see tiny green growth coming up through the burnt rubble. No, 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 no. We don't want no raised up rocks in our stead. We want to beat out the rocks. We want to be our noble selves before our just God. We want to be proactive, eyes and arms wide open for our children, their children, and their great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, Stevie Wonder, in those terms. Yes. Until the world becomes the kingdom of God, because he will indeed have his day, his say, and his way. There's a time for us. Someday there'll be a time for us. Time together with time to stare, time to learn, time to care. Someday, if we have the courage to act now. Somehow, if we have the collective will to act. Somewhere, if we have the love of God in our hearts to act now. And here's a blessing from God to aid in our quest. For this is not the day of justice, but the day of grace. While justice is allotting to each whatever is his due. That's Abdu'l-Baha. Selections from the writings of Abdu'l-Baha. The Day of Grace. So, folks, we still have a chance to make it right, to get it right. The grace of God is still with us. We need only heed his clear and wise counsel, which, as we've learned, is present in all the books of God. They all tell us what can happen if we do. They all tell us what to expect if we don't. God gave us a will of our own, not for our own, but for submission unto his. Let us then choose wisely. I'd like to close with a short reading from the Baha'i writing. Baha'u'llah calls on us as the followers of his light. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth, whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin. We beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. That's all things. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Hermione. So do we have any questions or thoughts that anyone wants to share? It was very powerful. It reminded me actually of a story that Harry Belafonte told about being with Reverend King. And it was later in King's West. I believe actually it was very close to his assassination, I'm afraid. But they were in New York, and apparently King was very tired from all the things he'd been doing. And he said to them that he was afraid they just integrated themselves into a burning house. And Belafonte asked him, well, what do we do? And King responded, I guess we all have to become firefighters. But it struck me as we were discussing actually before this all began today, our need to learn to read our society better and respond to its needs better. And he was a master of that, wasn't he? You know,
Absolutely.
he saw what needed to be done. I mean, towards the end of his life, when he began to focus on poverty as well as racial justice, he recognized that this, again, was an injustice that had to be fixed, or you couldn't possibly go forward.
Yeah, he walked in the path of justice. He was not afraid. He was not afraid. And he mentioned that after he said, you know, he had his eyes had seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He was not afraid. And acting fearlessly, he was able to garner so much, not just support, but action to not just follow in his footsteps, but start your own initiatives, you know, that fire that was kindled by all of that. Once a person can see the light of justice, which Allah says there's no greater light than the light of justice, there's nothing else that you can see. All you see is that path. Yeah, I appreciate that reference.
Yes, Harmian, I love all the quotes that you said. It was really powerful. And you know, with the love of God in our hearts, and if we make a lot of efforts, we will able to heal a lot of these injustice. And where you say, oh, people of justice, be as splendor as the light. That's right. And I can remember teaching the children in children class this quote here: tread ye the path of justice, for this verily is the straight path.
Exactly. It is straight.
but we have to work towards it, and that we can find comfort and healing with the love of God. It's gonna happen if we really make effort, but we have to do a lot of work.
And there is a lot of work, and there's
Yeah,
work
lot of work.
done right
God.
now, right across the entire globe. These 9-year plan conferences that are being held. Can you imagine if you think about previous conferences where there's so much energy that resulted from single gatherings, big conferences going on, and here these are all over the world, multiplied, multiplied, multiplied to the nth power. What the result of those conferences will be. Just amazing.
That's true. That's true. Mhm.
Any other thoughts or
I'd like to
questions?
say, yeah, thanks, Hermione, for sharing those beautiful quotes.
Thank you.
It's so very necessary, at least all the time, but especially now, it is so timely because of what's happening all over the world. Take, for instance, what's happening in Europe between the two countries, invasion of Ukraine. And I see where if the love of God was there, if justice was there, it would not have been done. The war would not have started. So we still have a long, long way to go in terms of ridding the world of injustice by living right. And, going according to the word of God. So we have to pray for all those friends. Now I understand that a lot of people are going to Ukraine to help people who are sick and, to offer help in so many different ways. And we have to offer prayers on their behalf.
Yes, in fact, we had a Nauru celebration last evening, and we opened with the fire tablet on behalf of the Ukrainians and all others who were suffering at hands of tyranny. In fact, Ukrainians who have fled the country, many are returning to help. It's their homeland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions? I thought this is, well, maybe it's not off topic, but just because thinking about what's happening in Ukraine and how tragic it is, and yet it made me think a little bit about this one passage from the Seven Valleys, and this is in the Valley of Knowledge. And Baha'u'llah just told the story of the lover who was driven to find his lover, who didn't know he had lost, by what seemed to be the tyranny of a watchman chasing him. And at the end of the story, Baha'u'llah says, "Now, if the lover could have seen the end, he would from the beginning have blessed the watchman, prayed God on his behalf, and seen his tyranny as justice. But since the end was veiled to him, he lamented and made his plaint in the beginning. Yet those who journey in the garden land of true knowledge, since they see the end in the beginning, behold peace in war, and conciliation in enmity." And I've begun to think about that and to wonder, because there are some signs, aren't there, that this tragedy is nonetheless part of a process of teaching humanity what we need to know in order to move forward into a better world. So I hope that is the case.
Yes.
Well, let's hope we learn from it.
Yeah.
I think that's what the quote that you read. It made me think of how Abdul Baha could say that he was happy when he was in prison. He knows what's going to come of it. He knows what's going to come of the efforts put forth on behalf of his father.
Would anyone else like to speak Well, if not, shall we go ahead and wrap up? Do you have anything more to add, Hermione?
I do not, and I apologize for such a short presentation, but that's all I have available for right now. Sorry.
It was short but very powerful. So
Exactly. That is what I'm
Yeah,
going to be powerful.
it was, yeah, really powerful. Thanks very much.
Mm-hmm.
all right. And let me make
And
it.
I would, Stephen, I would just like to say, thank you so much, Hermione. Your love for us and this community, you never let us down. Regardless if it's 1 hour or 1 week, you pull through for us. And so I love you, my sister.
All right. So let me make a few announcements. Today's program has been recorded and posted to the YouTube channel entitled South DeKalb Baha'i Unity Center, where you can view it and invite others to view it as well. And for members of the Baha'i faith, you are warmly encouraged to make a financial contribution to the South DeKalb Baha'i Fund, the Sandy Springs Baha'i Fund, and the National Baha'i Fund through the online contribution system at ocs.baha'i.us, or to mail a check to the Baha'i Unity Center at 2370 Wesley Chapel Road, Decatur, Georgia, 30035. We want to give many thanks to everyone who worked together to make today happen, to our wonderful speaker, to our volunteer readers, to Barbara Hennix, who keeps the whole thing going, and to the spiritual assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb and Sandy Springs. And of course, we want to thank everyone who came here and shared your morning with us. So I'm Stephen Boynton, and until next time, stay safe and stay well. We'll end now with a closing prayer for the departed.
Yeah, I could see that.
Wonderful.
Oh my God, O thou forgiver of sins, bestower of gifts, dispeller of afflictions, verily, I beseech thee to forgive the sins of such as have abandoned the physical garment and have ascended to the spiritual world, O my Lord. Purify them from trespasses, dispel their sorrows, and change their darkness into light. Cause them to enter into the garden of happiness. Cleanse them with the most pure water, and grant them to behold thy splendors on the loftiest mount. Abdul Baha.
Thank you. Allow up, everyone.
Allah Akbar, everyone.
Lao Pa.
Oh,
Hey. Hey.
see y'all at feast tonight.
Okay.